Welcome.
Welcome to another episode of Por Favor Whiskey podcast. We've actually got a picture, but it keeps going off, so apologies if it goes off again.
This is episode number 3.
3, that's right. Still very inexperienced and not professional in the slightest. But today's episode, what are we talking about?
So we did promise last time that we would talk about a certain peat. I've already made that joke. I wouldn't, but I just did. We're going to talk about peat.
What was peat?
What is peat?
Who was peat?
Yes, and how do you want to start about this?
Like, my idea of peat is this kind of wet clay stuff you find in like muddy, marshy areas.
It's a vegetable, right?
Yeah, I mean,
dead plants and dead moss.
It's decomposing
yeah.
organic elements. And because of that, actually, it's classed as a fossil fuel because it takes so long to decompose, like hundreds of years. But honestly, I would never think, I know, I'll pick that up, put it in my mouth, and it'll taste like smoke. Because it's like this wetty kind of organic stuff you'd never think.
But as I was reading about it, I was like, oh, it makes sense that it tastes or smells the way it does. It's because it's a cousin of coal, pretty much.
It's a precursor to coal. Yeah. So it's actually a fossil fuel predating the use of coal.
Yeah. So it makes sense that you would get those flavors and aromas out of...
And because it's a fuel, I guess specifically, we're all about burning it. So if you burn something, some smoke comes.
Yeah.
But the fact is, all the organic material brings out this aromatic smokiness that I do like. Interestingly, this goes back to the very origins of Scotch. Because they had a lot of peat. Mm-hmm. It was all over the earth and the land. So it was a free fuel. So they actually used it to fuel or to fire the kilns.
But they also had a lot of coal.
Yeah, because I think it goes before that. Because like they've been making whiskey for hundreds of
years. Yeah.
And it was free. It was just there. I don't know exactly how they do it. They stick it in and light it.
Well, I've seen how they do it. They have these long, I don't know what they're called, these long things that you cut. Well, they're kind of shovels, but they're like narrower. Like they're not meant to shovel dirt, but they're meant to cut through like parcels of peat. They take off like cubes, like it's just dig into the earth and they come up with a big chunk, but it's perfectly sliced. That's what I've seen in the documentary.
I have absolutely no idea how they burn it, but the fact is they've been doing it is the actual original origin of making Scotch. And as other malt became commercially available, perhaps peat wasn't used to fire the kilns. Then you had Scotch made that didn't have any smokiness to it. And some people are happy.
Yeah.
Some people not. Yeah. But what actually happened was Peated Whisky ended up in its own category. And I, for one, am very happy.
I thought when I was young, a kid, I didn't know a thing about whiskey anymore. A little bit now, especially with all the research we've done. But at the beginning, I thought, first of all, what is peat? I have no idea. I knew what peat was. But then also, how does it get like into the final product, into the whiskey that we drink? Do they dump it into the barrel together with the spirit, the human spirit? So no, it is as you said before. They use it as what do you call it?
Firing the kilns?
Yeah, the thing that will, the fuel for the kilning process. And so the smoke coming out of it, I read, is very oily. It has some peculiarities that mean that it's going to be easier than for the flavors that are carried in the smoke of peat to penetrate. Actually, the barley that's generally has been malted.
Yeah, as we learned from episode 1, what malt is.
Exactly, everybody knows that.
Mashed up, washed.
Exactly. So the barley in that state is going to absorb those components, those aromatic components in the smoke of peat. That's how he's going to retain it through the whole process.
And it's interesting you talk about those elements because that goes on nicely to my next set of notes, which is the flavor profiles. Because some people think of peat as smoke, but actually no, there are different profiles with peat.
Have the same notes.
So we've got the typical smoky one that everyone knows about. Then we've got this kind of maritime one from perhaps more coastal areas. And then the medicinal one,
Yeah.
which doesn't sound so nice, but
it's typical
Man.
of Isla and of like
Yeah.
Floyd or Lagavulin or these kinds of distilleries.
So these organic elements that are decomposing in a particular area of where peat is, the components, you mentioned it in our previous episode, are called phenols.
Yeah, phenols, yes.
But there are different phenols. Did you know this?
I did know that.
I did.
There's a bunch.
Well, there's 4 main ones.
What?
This is what I learned, and they're in groups, in 2 groups.
Do you know the chemical formula?
No.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
I don't know by heart. I have to look at my notes. It's a C6 H5OH.
C6
H5
H5
OH.
OH. No, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I don't know if is it does it mean is it kind of a alcohol? Like is it also a cousin of, because the fermentation is going to produce alcohol and phenols? Or are those actually phenols that are coming from the burning of the peat that we talked about, right? So there's,
Yes.
I think there's phenols in both. I think fermentation produces phenols. I think
Yeah,
peat produces phenols, different ones, because you said there's different.
it does. And the fermentation does alter the end product, which I've got an example of later. But the 4 main phenols that I've found, the first one is called phenol,
It's a basic one.
which is, I don't know, which is the medicinal one. It's not the smoking one, it's the medicinal one. And it's that kind of antiseptic-y, if you're in the UK, TCP flavor. Not that you'd ever want to put the TCP in your mouth. Well, it depends what you were doing, but maybe you do. It's that kind of like really yucky medicine kind of flavor. And there's another one called cresol, which is still medicinal. So I think I pronounced it right. But that's the more kind of earthy, mossy kind of flavors that you get sometimes.
That would mean that the peat comes from a more inland region.
Possibly more mainland. And then the other group, this is how I say it, guaiacol and syringol. Now, guaiacol, only taste, 0 aroma. Only aroma, 0 taste. And that has a very interesting story about regions, which you may hear about in an episode where we talk about regions. Let's say it's a future episode. But yeah, depending on your organic matter, the region you are, where the peat is taken, you're going to get all these different kind of flavor profiles. And
so you're saying that the different types of phenols are tied to the region that you are in, or can you make them appear in the process of making your whiskey? Like, can you favor one type of phenol to
no,
up for
it's entirely based on the organic matter and the components there, but not just the region. Also, how deep, the depth of the dig.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to the same region and take a 1 meter sample and then a 2 meter sample, obviously there's going to be different organic matter, perhaps matter that's decomposed more and for longer. So it's going to, again, have a different profile. So again, location, Isla, mainland, going to be very different, but also in the same place, the depth is going to produce different flavor profiles as well.
Well, you didn't know that.
I'm very happy and proud of my research that I did not do this morning.
And so did you know that we can measure also the amount, the phenolic content in
I like that word, phenolic. Yes, you did. PPMs.
ppm is parts per million. Yeah.
Parts per million, typical metric for measuring molecules and stuff.
Things in very small quantities.
Yes, absolutely.
And so there's different scales, right? So we can talk about a very lightly peated whiskey that would be between 1 and 10 ppms, and between 20 and 30, it's called medium peat levels. Between 30 and 50, it's already considered something highly peated. 30 to 50 parts.
And interestingly, it's important not to get carried away by the measurement, because this is the measurement of phenols, specifically, not peat, but the phenols, what we just talked about, that exist in the barley after the malting process. So like the last part of the distillation.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean what's in the bottle.
But do you think some distilleries may talk about measurements taken at different points? Like some will advertise our whiskey has 45 ppm, and they talk about the measurement taken after the distillation, after the maturation for 3 years or more in the cask.
Well,
others will talk about it.
I understood that the ppm is the measurement of phenols in the barley after the malting process. So specifically in the barley. Now, some distilleries target a specific value of ppms, and they have the ability then, depending on the shape of the kiln and nature of the fermentation, the length, they can actually filter it out. So yeah, they could say target a specific value at the end, but the ppm value is usually specifically what's in the barley after the malting process.
I see.
And I'm running out of things to say because I think I finished my notes.
I think this is all I had as well. I mean, you started talking about the different types of flavors we can get out of out of the provenance of the peat. So you have the medicinal, you talked about it, maritime or more earthy, grassy. Noted that if it's more of a woody kind of house fire type of experience that you get, this indicates that there was a lot of wood presence in peat origin.
Which makes sense because again, it's organic. Wood is organic.
And you said before, if it's more maritime, it's because it's more.
You're going to get more salty, kind of salt,
and plants that grow close to the shore.
Yeah. And I got a good example. So, two distilleries, Lagavulin and I can never pronounce this right, Kalila. They use exactly the same malt, exactly the same. They both have 35 ppm of phenols. However, they taste completely different because length of fermentation, or specifically how much they cut, the shape of the kiln, it's all going to change completely.
Well, I guess the casts are very different.
How they definitive. But yes, maturation. But specifically the smoke flavor or peat flavor, same malt, same ppm. So don't get carried away with ppms. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to taste like an ashtray.
No, absolutely not. And I think I'm not the right.
I hope it's the right thing. But and a lot of people don't like peated whiskey because they think like it's entry level, it's for beginners.
Do they think that maybe he's trying to mask an impurity or is trying to hide?
I think they think it's like overpowering and it doesn't have depth and complexity, which I think is like not true. But also, I'm a big fan of peat because also it depends on your upbringing. Like I grew up like on the coast, having bonfires on the beach. My grandmother's house, we had an open fire where we like toast bread. So that kind of just fire and smoke, it always brings back to me nostalgia and coziness and warmth and etc. And specifically, that's why I like peated whiskey. It's because for me, it's like cozy. It's nice and warm. But that doesn't mean there's no complexity there. There's a lot going on.
Okay. I like it, but what you drink evokes something, some emotions, some memories.
Yeah, I mean, like
you can smell what you smelled 4 years ago. You know that. I mean,
smell is a definite powerful, like, emotive sense, but also it's subconscious. We like what we like because of our previous experiences. I actually think peated whiskey can be very, very complex and deep.
I agree with you. I love it.
What are we going to try?
Well, before we try that, let's start right now, just as you were explaining this story, a new segment, your favorite peat that you know. Can you name one peat, one famous one?
I have my go-to one, but I realized today when writing this that I haven't actually tried it for about 2 years.
No. I mean, Peat, the first name.
Actual person.
Yeah, actually a person named Peat.
Well, I've got an uncle Pete. So
okay, I was going to go with Pistol Pete Marriage.
The behind the back pass through the legs. He came to pants.
Who?
His famous quote. The behind the back pass through the legs of that nature. I plead for the pants. He was like one of the first children of basketball. Best taste.
That's taste. So you said you were talking about Lagavulin and Colleen.
Yeah.
You said there are 35 parts per million.
35 ppm, which, as we learned, is the measurement of the phenols in the barley after the malting process.
And I did mention that heavily peated whiskey usually is considered to be between 30 and 50 parts.
Yeah. My favorite, historically, Port Charlotte was 50. And that's definitely considered on the heavy side.
And then the Frog was always considered one of the...
The Frog is like 35.
Oh, it's only 35.
But it's 20 to 40. They have different
50 is kind of
50 is heavy.
the barrier. But I brought this. So this is a Octomore from Bruichladdich. This is edition 7.3. I think this year they must be at version 16 something, and there's like a number per year. So 7 means it was 9 years ago, I think, when it came out. There's 4 editions.
Aged 5 years.
Yeah, aged 5 years. And here you have the ppm 169. So we've blown away all the others with their mere little 50 ppms. This one is 170, but as you very rightfully said earlier, don't get too caught up on the ppm number, because that doesn't mean this is going to be undrinkable. It doesn't mean that we're going to be drinking straight juice.
You and I went to a bar to drink whiskey bar. What's it called? Holy Drop.
Holy Drop.
Very, very, very good. Nice people, nice staff, and very knowledgeable. And we were looking, you typically look at the price of how much it costs. And you say, but you don't have to pay to drink Octomore here. You can just come to my house and drink Octomore. See this that? Yes, invite to his house.
Well,
so I'm very, very happy.
I have 4 different ones. I have 7. This is the 7.3. And I have 11, 12, and 15.
There was one which I did drink at your house. Like it was getting late, and we had to go, and I had to basically neck most of my dram. It's just intense smoke, and then an explosion of orange. And it was a good explosion.
The intensity is definitely there, but it's not overwhelming.
No, it was
definitely not. And
balanced, very balanced.
In my opinion, in my uneducated opinion, I think it comes down to the quality of what they're distilling. It's just they take great care of what they do. They pick the best casks, and they do something of utter quality, and that's how they are able to.
And this is bottled at 63%.
63%. Yes, sir. Right.
Okay. Oh. See, it's not overpowering in its peatedness.
It's very, very friendly.
Almost light.
Yeah.
That's when it's in fruit.
Yeah. I think the fruit is more, it comes first before the smoke.
Yeah.
And what kind of smoke would you say? So it's not medicinal.
No.
It's more of a wood fire for me. But it's Ida. It's supposed to be, Bruichladdich is right on the,
Yeah.
National Records.
I'm going to try some. That's so good.
Yeah, that sweetness.
A long finish. Wow.
You have all these things happening. And the smoke, but together with everything else, it's fantastic. I mean, it's it's pricey, but
it is pricey.
It's worth it.
It's better than an espresso.
Oh, we will drink some more after that. And they do so. Well, I'm not salesman for Bruichladdich, but they have like 4. They experiment with a lot of things every year, so they have different types of casks. They have the basic version, base product every year, and then the other 3 versions they experiment with different kinds of casks.
So the usual thing: unchill filtered, coloring free. Such a long finish. It's like I'm chewing it, and it's a good thing. Jim McEwen, head distiller. Yes,
I think it's one of the last ones that he was doing.
I love the branding as well. It's so cool. Often it goes back to that kind of thing I was saying about my grandmother's house or bonfire on the beach when I was a teenager or 20s. It's got that warmth, coziness to it. Like it's not overly in your face that you think for 169 ppms, but it's just that kind of like when you're sitting next to a bonfire and you feel the heat. But actually, it's not a bad thing. It's like a big hug. Yeah, you don't feel like you want to burn alive or anything. You don't feel like your life is in danger. You feel cozy. So there's a fruit in there, and I can't. My palate is awful.
Wings are definitely yours. There's other things, maybe apricot. Like a honey or something like a.
That's it. Honey. There's definitely honey in there because it's that kind of sweetness, but that cozy kind of sweetness. I think some orange and some honey. It's fantastic. It really is. I could just do a podcast just clicking that. Oh, thank you for that. What's our next episode going to be?
Can we reveal now?
Yeah, I think we're at the point where we can review.
Yes, we're going to talk about the different regions, whiskey regions in Scotland. Whiskey regions. They don't really exist otherwise.
No, that's a bit confusing actually. People talk about blah blah blah. It's Highlands. It's what where.
Don't say too much.
No.
Save it for the next
Yeah.
episode.
So, if you had any questions or corrections or any other kind of comments, please feel free to write them down, put them in a little post underneath. I'm jealous you still got some.
There's more.
Yeah, and please, if you kind of like the content, like it, subscribe to the channel, click the heart thing. What else is there?
Well, there's a bell. Did I not
There's a
know
bell.
Does it matter?
No, that's you get alerts when we put up new stuff, so that's important.
Yeah, it is important.
Thumbs up, that kind of thing. And yeah, that was a good episode. Enjoy that. Okay.
I'll see you next time for the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.